Welcome to Senior Moments. My name is Vickie Carraher, the Senior Service Coordinator for the City of Kettering. So today we're going to cover a topic that is somewhat controversial with families. It can cause a lot of friction, and that is when to give up driving. A lot of times individuals may continue to drive and they probably physically aren't as good to do that. And so there are some ways and some tricks that we're going to talk to family members and individuals who are thinking about giving up driving for themselves. There are lots of options these days. Some of the options that we used to have, cabs, are kind of going away because of Uber and some of the other car services. Unfortunately, with Uber, you have to use a smartphone to get to them. And so individuals are trying to, learn new things, and they're a little worried about accepting those rides from strangers. And there's been a lot of publicity about the possible not being safe when you're in those situations. But what we need to think about is some options, some ways that we can help individuals get ready to quit driving or maybe phase themselves out of driving. Seems to be, research tells us, the best way for a senior to quit driving may be to start doing limited trips and then slowly back down. While they're backing down, they can also be trying public options to kind of work out the kinks with those public options, and we're going to talk about that today. So one of the things that I tell people that if they're thinking about giving up driving, if their family members say, "We don't think you're safe to drive anymore," then what I encourage them to do is get an assessment. There are several driving schools that will do senior assessments. Both the Kettering Hospital System and the Premier Health System have driving assessment programs that an individual can be assessed by a licensed therapist who can look at all the different aspects of driving. Sometimes we don't even take into consideration all the different steps it takes for an individual to be able to drive. Being able to move your neck back and forth to look to see if somebody's in your blind spot, to be able to see distances and close up, to have decent vision at night. I mean, I'm in my 50s and I'm finding that every once in a while when I have to drive at night, I'm like, I really don't like this as much as I used to. It seems like it's a little scarier for me. So we need to start thinking about things, what we're going to do when that time comes. So the first thing I recommend is do an assessment. Your doctor can refer you to the hospital systems, or you can go to the driving schools and get that assessment. The one thing I do want people to know is if you go to a therapist and somebody does an assessment, if they do feel like you shouldn't be driving anymore, that's something that's going to get reported. So I want to make sure that people understand that going into the system. Have honest discussions with family members. A lot of seniors tell me they're afraid to talk with their kids about driving because they're afraid that their children are going to overreact and they're not going to be able to drive anymore. So what we want you to do is just having those conversations, saying, listen, I don't think that I'm ready to stop driving, but I want to know from you, what can I depend on you for should I need to quit driving in the future? That helps your loved ones to start thinking in ways that they're gearing their schedules up to assisting you with driving. I know when my parents stopped driving, it was a situation where my sister and I just kind of made up a schedule. We're going to go to the grocery store. We're going to do, get your hair done or go take you to the bank on these days. So my parents could plan to be ready to do that on those days. There were times that if we were going to the grocery store, we would just call and say, hey, do you need anything? And we would pick that up for them. So letting your family be a part of the decision helps that to go a little bit easier than if all of the sudden you say to your loved one, listen, you're going to have to take me here and you're going to have to take me there. So think about those. You want to introduce the idea slowly. Again, just starting slowly by saying, you know, I'm just not going to drive at night anymore when my vision is limited, or I'm going to only drive between 10 and 2 in the afternoon when a lot of people are at work. Then you don't have to really worry about people being in the parking lots at grocery stores as much as they are during peak times in those stores. Don't sell the car quickly. I have a lot of people who wanted to try not driving and they sold the car and then they really regretted that decision. So I recommend that you don't sell that car when you're first trying that in the very preliminary stages. Then you might want to even maintain the car for when your family members drive you, then they can drive you in the car that you own at that time. So that's something you want to introduce into that situation as well. And don't be afraid to ask friends. A lot of times when seniors call me and say, you know, I can't get to the grocery store, and they may not qualify for the transportation program that the city runs, then I can help them think about other things. We do have mass transit in this area, RTA. For those who cannot ride an RTA bus, who physically cannot do that, there's a program for individuals. It's a paratransit program where there are smaller buses that will pick you up. There are lots of different options to think about. So when you're thinking about doing this, or if you're a family member who's thinking about taking the keys away from someone who may have a disability, a mental disability that has happened, whether it be Alzheimer's or some form of dementia, and you have to take those keys away, it's easiest to present a plan to them. So if you're going to take the keys away from me, my immediate thought is, what am I going to do I can't get to the grocery store. I can't go to the store if I need to. I can't do things. I can't go to the bank. So what we suggest is if you are a family member introducing this idea to a loved one, then you would come to that loved one with a plan in place. With a plan saying, I know when we talked with my parents about them not driving anymore, it was my sister and I sitting down and saying, okay, on this day, we're going to take you here. On the day you get your hair done, we're going to take you there. And if a lot of our older ladies will say that is like a religious event, getting your hair done once a week. So we made sure that we had a plan in place, and it was a little bit easier on them to get rid of driving and not have that responsibility anymore. So talking about options in driving, I have a guest with me today. Jennifer from our Charles Latham Senior Center is here today, and we're going to talk about the transportation program that the city has for Kettering residents. Now, this is strictly for Kettering residents, so I know this may be playing in some other areas, but this program is directly for Kettering residents. Tell us a little bit about your program.
Basically, our program serves individuals over the age of 60 who are Kettering residents who need to get to an appointment, personal, medical, shopping, within 5 miles of Kettering inside of Montgomery County. That's key. Because we're so close to Greene County, people want to go into Greene County. We do go to Sylvania Drive where the eye doctors are, but that's as far as we go. That includes, we don't go to the Greene, which is across the street. But we go all the way down to the Dayton Mall area. We do go into the Sugar Creek Walmart and that area, and then down to 725 in front of the Dayton Mall, all the way back up 741, all the way to downtown Dayton, and back up again around through East Dayton, back into Kettering. We will transport to the VA center as well. So in that area, we hit all the major hospitals. We do go to Sycamore, which is slightly away from, but we want to make sure people get to their doctor's appointments. And we go to pretty much anywhere anyone needs to go shopping-wise. In COVID times, we now do everything is by appointment. So you call us between 8 and 10, Monday through Friday, and we will set up your individual time to go shop or go to a doctor's appointment or whatever you need done. we used to have set shopping times and we'd take a group of people together in the van, but our goal is to not have a group of people together in the van.
Yeah.
So right now everything is one person or a family unit, you know, a couple, a child and a parent if they can't drive. And we pick them up and we take them where you need to go, and then it's an on-call pickup to go home. The drivers will give you a card with their the cell phone that we give them, and when you're ready to be picked up, you call them, they come back, they tell you how long it's going to be because sometimes they're in the middle of another trip, and then they pick you up and take you home. So we have been able to continue serving. We never stopped. The numbers dropped back from a couple of hundred rides a month to 20, but we're still going, and we have been going the whole time, and people are starting to call again, and it's really a nice thing to do right now.
So when you talk about COVID, what are the precautions that you're taking to make sure that people are safe when they're riding with you?
Obviously, everyone has to wear a mask. The drivers have been wearing masks now since April. The passengers are required to wear a mask. They clean the van with disinfecting wipes, and we keep Lysol spray in the van because that is a really fast way to get any particles that might be hanging in the air down. We've also expanded our service. It used to be every half hour. Now it's every 40 minutes, giving us time in between to, in the good weather, roll the windows down, get some fresh air, make sure we have time to clean. We have hand sanitizer in the vans, and again, we have limited the number of passengers in the van at any given time. No one sits in the front seat. The driver sits up in the front, and then it's a good 6-7 feet back to where the bench is behind, probably even further than that from driver to person. And so the only time you're really in close contact is if the person needs assistance getting into the vehicle. Like if they're in their wheelchair, take them up the ramp, hook them up, and then they're a little closer, but again, with masks on, as we know, that helps prevent the transmission. So we have been very, very careful very early to make sure that my drivers are safe. That's one of my biggest concerns, because if I lose a driver, we will have to cut back on the service. So we want to make sure that my drivers are safe, and if my drivers are healthy and safe, then my passengers can remain healthy and safe as well.
Well, that's good. Now, you mentioned wheelchairs. So the vehicles that we use, they're accessible?
Yes, they are. They're accessible for anyone who can step into the van. That's great. They're accessible by a ramp if you need a little help getting up. You can ramp right up. A walker, a cane, a wheelchair will hook up, and you call us with the measurements of your scooter to make sure it fits in, but so far everybody's been able to fit their scooter in.
That's good.
So we go all the way from you can walk on yourself, or you have to drive yourself up the little ramp. It's a very accessible vehicle.
Well, good. That's great. So the drivers, they're experienced, they're trained. Tell us a little bit about our drivers.
The drivers are all experienced drivers. Currently, I have one ex-UPS driver and an ex-school bus driver. Carolyn's with us about a year now. And then I don't know what the other one's experience is, but he's been driving for the city for about 6 years. So now his experience is doing this. They are trained and taken care of. Next year we will be sending them all again to the smart driving course through AARP, which reviews how to sit in the chair and your mirrors and everything they need to know. They are drug screened and background checked, so we know that they're capable of taking care of our people as we need to. They're just general employees. We usually have 2 volunteers driving as well, but they drive a vehicle that's a smaller car. So I don't have them back on the roads right now. Because it's just, I don't feel it's as safe an environment as being further apart in the van.
So let's say, now I'm ready. How do I get started?
You call us. And for right now, our phone number is an odd phone number. We're using a cell phone, and the number is 937-307-8374. And the reason we're using the cell phone is it gives us the option of someone not having to be in the office, because until 2 months ago I did it all from home. So I started using the cell phone, and now it gives us the flexibility. If my one volunteer is gone, I can still be at home and accept the phone calls and do it. If you did call our office, that number is listed on it. So you could call the general transportation line that's on the website, and you would get referred to that phone number. When you call us between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, either myself or a volunteer will talk to you about what your needs are. If you are already using us, we just schedule you. If you're new, we would talk you through our handy little form that you have to, and we can fill this out for you over the phone and have it sent to you for your first ride, so all you would do would be to sign the bottom. We can set you up over the phone. You do not need to come in at this time. We will talk to you about how to buy cards, because how we charge is we have little cards that when you get in, the bus driver crosses off the dollar amount that's equal to what your ride will be. So for this little yellow card, it's a $10 yearly membership. So that gets paid once a year on your anniversary date to keep in the membership of the transportation. You do not need to be a senior center member to do this. You can be any Kettering resident can do this. And then you purchase these cards in $10, $20, or $40 increments. A shopping trip ride is $2 each way, so $4 round trip. A appointment, personal, medical, whatever, inside the city of Kettering limits, it's $3 each way, so $6 round trip. If you go outside of our limits into our other service area, it's $5 each way or $10 round trip. So depending on how often you would be using us and depending on how far you need to go will dictate the amount of money you need to have on your card. And those we can, again, through the driver acting as an intermediary, accepts the money and brings it to me and I deposit it in, is all very noted and taken care of in the office, so we know what to expect in the way of payments. You can mail checks to us, but right now things are a little slower than we'd like, so we get a little nervous about that. We can take credit cards if I'm in the office, because I'm the only person who can run the credit card. And so far, we've been handling it this way since end of March, and things are going really well. We've added at least 4 new members.
That's good.
And we've continued to do rides, and last month I did about 100 rides. Normally I do closer to 300 rides, but things are coming back. It's simple, and we do have a little information guideline sheet. So if you are interested, you can call us and we will either mail it to you, or if you have email, I can PDF it to you so you can have a copy. Same with the registration form, I can do that as well. So we're pretty set up to get you served with low fuss, no muss, since we're not open and available to you right now.
So that's a really good price. I know it would be double that if you took a cab or even Uber. Where is that funding coming from? I mean, who's supplementing the cost of the program?
We are supplemented through the STEP program. Do you know what that stands for? Senior Transportation Expansion Program.
Yes.
I never remember that, but it's through the city supplements as well, the City of Kettering supplements, and then this STEP program provides us with additional funding as well. Right now we get $2 per ride each month. I think that number is going to change a little bit. They're looking at reallocating some of the funds, go up a little bit. So for what we spend out, we get a portion of it back every month from this program, which helps us keep it going and pay for our drivers and the vehicle maintenance and the gas, which of course is one of our biggest expenses, is the fuel.
Well, that's good to hear. So I need a trip tomorrow. Am I going to be able to get a trip tomorrow morning?
No, you're not. We need at least 48 hours, largely for the sake of the drivers, because since I have limited drivers now, I have to know where we're going and how many drivers I need on the road and their hours. So we need 48 hours. So if you call me on Monday, you're talking Wednesday. If you call me on Tuesday, you're talking Thursday or Friday. The thing to remember is if you call on Friday, it's going to be Tuesday because Monday's already set. So you have to think a few days out. In an extreme medical emergency, we have been known to twist into a pretzel for someone because we're not going to leave you stranded at home. It's just not going to happen. But if you want to go to Meijer, you can wait a day. If you have forgotten that you had a haircut, you might need to talk me into that. But if you have an extreme medical emergency, we're going to work with you to try to get you where you need to go. But here's the nice part. You can schedule up to 4 weeks out. So I'm scheduling through September, what is today, the 13th?
Never ask me the date. I never
I
know
don't
it.
know.
I believe it is the 13th.
The 13th. So we're going out through September 13th is this time. So we are 4 weeks out. So when you get that haircut and you know it's going to be every Thursday at 9, you call me and set up the month. When the doctor schedules a checkup with you 3 weeks from now, call me. The longer you wait to make that appointment, the less likely you are to get the appointment because they go quickly. And now with having fewer drivers on the road and fewer appointments available because we added that extra time, I am having to have some people shift things around.
Okay.
So just get in there early.
Thank you for all you do. This is a wonderful service, and I hear from people all over the Miami Valley. When I'm out in the community, I hear people say, wow, I wish I lived in Kettering. That transportation program is amazing. So we're so fortunate to have it, and we're fortunate to have you with us as well. So thank you for being here. Remember, if you need information about senior services, you can contact me at 296-3356. Of course, that's 937-296-3356. We are open at the Kettering Connection in Town and Country Shopping Center Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8:30 to 12:30. We now are distributing masks to individuals. So you come into the Kettering Connection, we can get you a supply of masks. We can provide education about COVID, and there are some benefits under Medicare for COVID as well. We have the ability for you to come if you need to do an electronic meeting with your physician, a family member, or some kind of business. You can come in and use our equipment. We, of course, will then sanitize the area that you used so for your safety. So feel free to call us. Again, 937-296-3356 if you have questions about the transportation program or about any service for seniors. Just give us a call. Thank you, and you have a great day.